Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Fifth Third Bank Hometown Business Weekly. I'm your host, Kent Lutz. On today's program, Hometown Business Weekly correspondent Lisa Smith travels to Walnut Hills to learn what gives Jostens Concrete its unique competitive edge. Dr. Sid Barton joins us back in our studio, and as always, Doug Bolton of the Business Courier gives us the latest inside scoop. But first, our business leader spotlight this week shines on a sixth-generation hometown company who over the last 144 years has provided complete tool and die manufacturing for local, national, and now international companies. We're on location in Westchester, Ohio at the headquarters of LongStanton Manufacturing, talking with the president and CEO of LongStanton, Dan Cunningham. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Kent. Glad to be here.
A family business that's been in business for over 144 years. That's quite an accomplishment, Dan. Share a little bit of history about how LongStanton really originally got started.
Well, our founder was John Stanton, and during the Civil War here in Cincinnati in 1862, he began to make hard currency here in Cincinnati because there was a shortage of it here in the country. He took his skills as a metal engraver and saw this business opportunity, and that became the original John Stanton Company. And the location was at 4th and Ray Street, which is where Saks Fifth Avenue is today. So we kind of wish we'd hung on to that real estate, but we did.
Cincinnati.
You bet. He also made buttons for the soldiers for the uniforms. He made them for both the North and the South at the same time. So he was definitely an entrepreneur, no doubt about it.
During the Civil War.
That's right.
Incredible.
After the war ended, the Currency Act of 1867 came into place, which meant he could no longer make the currency, and also the war was over, thank goodness, so that he didn't have the market for the buttons. So majority of his business evaporated very quickly. Mm-hmm. So when I think I have business problems nowadays, I take solace from what he had to face to keep the business going back in the late 1860s. Mm-hmm. So the business has been handed down within the family, and my father-in-law was previously part of this business, and he retired in 1988. We've had other non-family members in the business, and but currently I'm the only owner of the business right today.
Dan, share specifically what the company does.
We manufacture simple to complex assemblies out of metal, rubber, and plastic. Here in Ohio, we mainly focus on metal items such as precision form sheet metal, metal stamping, and the tooling necessary to produce those items efficiently. In China, we do rubber molding. We also do injection molding. Due to the location of those items, we are able to do some assembly of those items so that our customers can then get a finished assembly.
We were talking earlier about your decision a number of years ago to really enter the China market. Long before really that was a popular thing to do, such as it is today. How did that all come about?
One of the first things I did was begin to grow an executive team, which took a number of years. And also I began a strategic planning process, which continued to today. And a number of years ago, 5 years or so ago, I would look at and what did I want my company to look like, say 5 years into the future. And basically I felt it was reasonable to double the business size profitably. And I noticed 5 years ago, because of the manufacturing demographics in this country, it's really, really tough. And what did our customers want? And I could detect that they wanted not only items made here close to home, but they also needed some items made overseas in China to mix with that. I felt at this time the best way to grow it here is to have operations in China, and by golly, that's worked out really, really nicely. I'm able to grow my business right here in Ohio because I also have facilities in China that can complement that.
Now, I think I recently got an email from you that you're taking a group over to China, really to kind of lead this group to help them understand how to do business over there.
I have a partner for some of my operations in China, and we determined that because for so many of our customers doing business in China is a strategic level item, we thought it would be a good idea to involve executives with profit and loss responsibility to take them to China, and we also thought it was a good idea to take the spouses over.
That's great.
Obviously our family business here, spouses have been very critical to the success, continue to be. to have spouses go with our CEOs to China and learn about meeting Chinese business people, seeing factories, seeing services, meeting accountants, bankers, and attorneys, and also the cultural items. We take people to the Great Wall and to the Terracotta Warriors so they begin to see the immensity of what China is.
That's wonderful.
And executives that go invariably say they have a much better idea on how to do business in China or with China, and also how to integrate that with what they're doing back here in the States, because not everything makes sense to be made in China. That's a big mistake people make.
Dan, hold that thought, because we're going to have to take a short break. When we come back, we'll really talk to Dan more about what the future holds for LongStanton. So please stay with us.
This Business Leader Spotlight is brought to you by Cincinnati Bell Technology Solutions and EMC, where information lives.
Welcome back to Fifth Third Bank Hometown Business Weekly. We're on location in Westchester talking with the President and CEO of LongStanton Manufacturing, Dan Cunningham. Dan, you mentioned that the business originated in downtown Cincinnati at 4th and Ray Street. You're now located out in Westchester, but you truly are a global company. Where are some of your locations around the country and overseas?
Obviously, our most important location is right here in Westchester. We've been out here 30 years. It's a great location, not too far from the Union Center Boulevard off of I-75. And additional locations we have globally. We have a location in Shanghai, China. That is our newest location, and there we have a design center and manufacturing center, and there we design manufacturing processes and products to be made in our China operation. We also have a metals location in Changzhou, which is about an hour and a half outside of Shanghai. There we do stainless steel turning, precision form sheet metal, and polishing of stainless items, that type of thing. And that's run by our son Marvin. He's a general manager of that location. We also have a rubber molding facility in Wuhan, China, which is about 2 hours flight time west of Shanghai. It's on the Yangtze River, and that's important because that's a port for global trade. And there we'll do rubber molding and rubber to metal bonding, which is just got a lot of applications. We also have a logistics and engineering office in Beijing, and their engineers are the type that will do proposals, and we find logistics for supply chain management is absolutely critical. It's a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week thing, so we do that out of Beijing.
What is your employment base globally? How many people does
Well, we have 75 people here at LongStanton in Westchester, and then in Shanghai, our newest location, we've got at our design center, we've got 40 designers and project managers. The factory is relatively new there, so we have maybe 30 employees there. And then in Changzhou, we've got about 18 employees. Wuhan's been in operation a bit longer, and that has about 120 employees. And then in Beijing, we have 14 employees.
The number is growing, obviously,
yes.
Growing dramatically.
Yeah, and I also wanted to mention also that some of these locations I own 100% of the business, and some of them I have 50% partners, so they're not all my direct employees, but that's a good recap of what we're doing. One
of the things we talked about earlier was the importance you placed on having an outside board of advisors really help you in growing the business. It's something we preach about a lot at the Gearing Center, the importance of having that objective third-party point of view to really help you guide the business. Tell us a little bit about how that's worked with your company, John.
One of my top business strategies is to associate with the very best business people that I can, which constantly forces me to improve myself. And by doing that, I'm also hopefully improving the people I'm associating with. So it's it's all a positive direction. And over several years, casual business advisors that I would occasionally seek out for advice formalized that about 10 years ago with a board of directors. And there's currently 5 members of that board. So I meet with the board of directors 4 times a year with a stated agenda ahead of time. And you also use them to help evaluate and develop my executive team so that they can also grow. And I also use them to help set my priorities. So I typically will have an executive session, which means I leave the room and they talk about my performance And I've always told them if they can find somebody else better to run this business, go ahead and let's hire the person and let me get out of the way.
Now I want to talk to you about your great community involvement. Honored this year by the Gehring Center as a Family Business of the Year, so congratulations.
Well, we're
again
very honored to be selected, Kent.
But you've been involved in a lot of other community things. Share a few of those, Dan, while we still have a little time to talk about your great involvement in the community.
Well, there's so many organizations that are important to our community, and due to the nature of our business, we can't offer in-kind tool and die work. That doesn't quite cut it. But so we end up offering a lot of our time. Organizations like Cincinnati Opera, very near and dear to my heart. There's an arts organization that has the second oldest opera company in the country, and been the Black the last 14 years, and it's because of really hard work. And here we are, we're committing to having a presence in Over the Rhine, and to be able to do that and still provide an art form in Cincinnati, do all those economic things at the same time. I just hardly know another way to do all that. I'm also involved in the Warren County Foundation up in Warren County. It's a community foundation. Several of us got together about 10 years ago and got that organization going, and I'm very pleased. It's a dream come true to see how well that's doing. I'm involved in the Fine Arts Fund here in Cincinnati, another great tradition of it's a selfless organization, and it's unique in the country. It's the envy of just about every other city, but it's allowed business leaders to come together and in a focused way provide support for arts in the city. Also involved in the Ralph J. Stolle YMCA in Warren County, which is the largest YMCA in the country now.
What were some of the challenges that you faced over the years to really get the business to the sixth generation?
Over several of the generations, I really don't know all the challenges they faced and how they dealt with them. I can only look at the results, and I can only look at how I've experienced generational transfer. And in my situation, the previous owners were certainly interested in passing on the business. They were also interested in developing me as somebody who could do it, and I think that's one of the key things, is developing the person that's coming along. With the proviso, you don't really know if they have sincere interest, and they really don't know, so you've got to give them some room to figure that out. For example, with our children, which my wife Marge and I have intimate knowledge of, when they were quite young, somebody might come up to our son or daughter and say, "Oh, when you're older, you're going to be able to run your dad's business." I told them immediately, as soon as that person went away, Marvin or Emily, the plans are not for you to be involved in this business. The plans are, such as we have, is that you're going to do what it is you want to do, and your mom and dad are going to do everything we can to help you pursue your dreams. And specifically for our son, who we love very much, and he loves us, he grew up in this business. He can run any machine. He can do anything in manufacturing here. But he said, I want to do something else. So he went to school. Well, he always wanted to go as far away from home as possible.
That's normal.
So he went to school in New Orleans and got a degree in Latin American Studies and History with a minor in Political Science and African Diaspora. And then after a few more years of graduate school work and so on, the opportunity for us opened up in China, and I felt he could run it over there. But I asked him if he would be interested in doing it, but think about it for several months, because I need a 5-year commitment to do this. This is serious business. And so he thought about it and said, "Yes, I'm ready. I think I can do it." So we sent him over to China, and of course now he's 12 time zones away, so he's as far as possible from home. And then in our daughter's case, she is on our board of directors of LongStanton Asia. She works for International Justice Mission in Washington, and she's very helpful to us on human rights and so on within our China operation. And I think that gives us a competitive advantage on how we treat our employees, and allowed us to assemble an outstanding team of Chinese employees.
Dan, you're a great role model, a great business leader in our community. We're very fortunate to have you here. We want to wish you the best of luck in growing your business over the next 5, 10, 20 years, whatever the time frame is. Thank you so much for being with us on Fifth Third Bank Hometown Business Week.
Thank you, Ken, very much.
Let's check in now with my co-host, Dr. Sid Barton, for a look at what's coming up next. Sid, take it away.